You were leaving food for a raccoon. The raccoon would come to your yard. The raccoon would eat the food. The raccoon would return. Night after night, the raccoon came. It was a simple transaction. You left food. The raccoon ate. The raccoon left. But then you stopped leaving food. Maybe you ran out. Maybe you decided it wasn't a good idea. Maybe you were told to stop. Maybe you simply changed your mind. And you waited to see what would happen. You expected the raccoon to disappear. You expected the raccoon to find food elsewhere. You expected the raccoon to move on to places where food was available. But the raccoon kept coming back. Night after night, the raccoon returned to your yard. The food was not there. The reward that had drawn the raccoon before was gone, but the raccoon came anyway. The raccoon would search. The raccoon would look for the food. The raccoon would spend time in your yard even when there was nothing to eat. And you began to wonder, why is the raccoon still coming? The answer is far more profound than you might expect. The answer has nothing to do with food. The answer has everything to do with relationship. Tonight you are going to understand why a raccoon keeps visiting after you've stopped leaving food, and you are going to understand that wild animals are not simply creatures driven by instinct and resource seeking. Wild animals are beings capable of connection. Wild animals are beings capable of choosing to return to a place simply because the place, and the being in that place, matter to them. Welcome back to Hidden Backyard Wildlife, the channel where we sit with the small wild lives that share our yards and try to understand what they understand about the world. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe before this video is over, because what you are about to learn is going to change the way you understand animal motivation. Because you will finally understand that the raccoon returning to your yard after the food is gone is not a mindless creature following instinct. The raccoon is choosing to return. The raccoon is expressing a preference. The raccoon is demonstrating that the relationship with this place, and with you, has become more important than resource seeking. Today we are walking through 8 things happening when a raccoon keeps visiting after you've stopped leaving food. What each of those things reveals about the depth of connection wild animals are capable of forming. What researchers have discovered about animal motivation beyond resource seeking. And why a raccoon would return to a place where there is nothing to gain except the presence of a familiar human and a familiar space. Stay with me from beginning to end because revelation number 6 is the one that explains the neurochemistry of attachment and bonding in wild animals. And revelation number 8 is the one that will make you understand that the raccoon visiting your yard, despite the absence of food, is expressing something profound. The raccoon is saying, "You matter to me. This place matters to me. The connection matters more than the resource. The relationship is real. The bond is genuine. The visiting is a choice." The first thing that is happening when a raccoon keeps visiting after the food stops is that the raccoon has learned that your yard offers something beyond just food. When the raccoon was coming to your yard for the food, the raccoon was also experiencing something else. The raccoon was experiencing safety. The raccoon was experiencing a location where predators did not attack. The raccoon was experiencing a human who did not harm. The raccoon was experiencing consistency. Night after night, the raccoon came and found the same thing. The same location, the same human, the same absence of threat. The raccoon's brain was encoding not just the food reward. The raccoon's brain was encoding the safety of the location. The raccoon's brain was encoding the predictability of the human behavior. The food was what brought the raccoon to your yard initially, but the safety and consistency are what made the raccoon want to return. Over time, as the raccoon repeatedly experienced safety in your yard, the raccoon began to value the yard for more than just the food. The yard became a known place. The yard became a safe place. The yard became a place where the raccoon felt at ease. When the food stops being left, the raccoon still remembers the safety. The raccoon still remembers the consistency. The raccoon still remembers that this yard is different from other places. The raccoon continues to visit because the safety and consistency remain. The food was the initial draw, but it was never the only draw. Researchers studying wild animal foraging behavior have found that animals often continue returning to locations even after food sources are depleted, with animals demonstrating preference for locations based on safety and consistency factors independent of immediate food availability, suggesting that location loyalty is based on multiple factors beyond resource density. The safety is remembered, the consistency is valued, the location is special. The raccoon has built your yard into her nightly routine. The raccoon's life is structured around patterns. The raccoon moves through her territory on established routes. The raccoon has established den locations. The raccoon has established foraging areas. The raccoon has established rest locations. Your yard has become part of this structure. Your yard has become one of the places the raccoon visits on her nightly rounds. Your yard is part of the rhythm of the raccoon's life. When the raccoon comes to your yard, even without food, the raccoon is maintaining her routine. The raccoon is continuing to move through her territory in the pattern that has become familiar. Routines matter to animals. Routines provide structure. Routines provide comfort. Routines reduce the cognitive load of figuring out where to go and what to do. The raccoon has integrated your yard into her routine. The routine has become automatic. The routine feels right. When the food stops being left, the raccoon might initially show confusion. The raccoon might search for the food, but the routine itself has taken on value independent of the food reward. The raccoon continues to visit because the routine has become part of who she is. The pattern of coming to your yard is established. The pattern feels necessary. Interrupting this routine would require the raccoon to rebuild her nightly pattern. The raccoon would have to find a different location to replace your yard. The raccoon would have to reorganize her territory. The continued visiting is partly about maintaining the routine that has become comfortable. Researchers studying animal behavior patterns have found that animals demonstrate strong attachment to established routines and territories, with animals continuing to revisit locations even after resource availability changes, suggesting that routine and territorial familiarity are valued independently from immediate rewards. The routine is established, the pattern is set, the visiting continues. The raccoon has learned something specific about you. You are safe. This is not a universal truth for raccoons. Many humans are threats. Many humans set traps. Many humans chase raccoons away. Many humans respond with hostility to raccoon presence. But you are different. The raccoon has learned that you are safe. The raccoon has learned that you do not harm. The raccoon has learned that your presence is tolerable or even positive. This learning has taken time. The raccoon has observed your behavior repeatedly. The raccoon has assessed your threat level. The raccoon has concluded, this human is not a threat. The presence of a safe human is valuable. The presence of a human who does not harm means the raccoon can move through your yard without fear. The presence of a human who tolerates the raccoon's presence means the raccoon can forage and move with reduced vigilance. The food rewards the raccoon came for, but the safety that you represented also drew the raccoon to your yard. The safety was part of the reward. When the food stops being left, the safety remains. The raccoon can still move through your yard without fear of the human. The raccoon can still feel safer in your yard than in many other locations. The raccoon continues to visit partly because your presence, though it no longer offers food, still offers safety. Your presence still offers the absence of threat. This is significant. This means the raccoon has chosen your yard as a place where she can be herself, a place where the normal vigilance can be reduced, a place where a moment of peace is possible. Researchers studying human-wildlife tolerance have found that wild animals demonstrate behavioral changes around humans. They have learned to be non-threatening, with animals showing reduced vigilance, increased foraging efficiency, and voluntary proximity to safe humans, suggesting that safety from human threat is a significant factor in animal location choices. The safety is learned, the trust is developing. The continued visiting reflects the raccoon's confidence in your non-threatening nature. The raccoon is also actively problem-solving. The raccoon is wondering what happened to the food. The food was there. Night after night, the food was there. The raccoon came to expect the food. The raccoon's memory encoded the pattern: come to this place, find food. Then the food stopped appearing. The raccoon does not understand why. The raccoon does not know that you made a decision to stop leaving food. The raccoon only knows that the pattern has been broken. The raccoon is checking. The raccoon is returning to see if the food will reappear. The raccoon is looking for signs that the food might come back. The raccoon's behavior is optimistic in a way. The raccoon is not giving up. The raccoon is continuing to check the location on the chance that the food will return. This is a form of hope. This is a form of searching. This is a form of maintaining the connection in case the food comes back. The raccoon is also demonstrating a level of attachment. The raccoon cares enough about the potential of food reappearing that the raccoon continues to visit and check. The raccoon is not immediately accepting the loss and moving on. The raccoon is maintaining the connection. Some of the continued visiting might be the raccoon asking, "Why did you stop? Are you coming back? Will the food return?" Researchers studying animal persistence and extinction learning have found that animals often continue checking locations for disappeared resources for extended periods, with animals showing gradual rather than immediate extinction of conditioned behaviors, suggesting that animals maintain hope and continue seeking even after reinforcement stops. The raccoon is checking, the raccoon is hopping, the raccoon is maintaining the connection. Beyond resource seeking and safety, something else is happening. Relationship is forming. The raccoon's visits have become about more than food and safety. The visits have become about the space itself and the human presence itself. The raccoon enjoys being in your yard. The yard offers resources, shelter, places to dig, open space. The yard is a pleasant place to be. The raccoon might visit simply to move through a familiar space that feels good. But more than that, the raccoon might be forming a kind of relationship with you. The raccoon has learned your presence. The raccoon has learned your patterns. The raccoon has learned your nature. The raccoon might actively prefer your presence to your absence. The raccoon might be drawn to your yard partly because you are there. This is a form of attachment. This is a form of preference. This is a form of relationship. The relationship is not like a human relationship. The raccoon does not know you. The raccoon has not formed a named attachment or a conscious intention to be your friend. But the raccoon has formed a preference. The raccoon has formed a positive association with your presence and your yard. The raccoon has incorporated you and your space into her world as positive elements. The raccoon continues to visit because the visiting itself has become rewarding. The raccoon is drawn to the familiar. The raccoon is drawn to the place that feels safe and known. The raccoon is drawn to the human who has become part of that safe and known world. This is relationship, not the complex relationship between two humans, not even the relationship between a human and a domesticated pet, but a form of relationship nonetheless. The raccoon is choosing to be in your presence. The raccoon is choosing to continue the connection. The raccoon is expressing preference for your space. Researchers studying interspecies bonding have found that wild animals can form lasting preferences for particular human individuals, with animals showing behavioral changes in the presence of known humans and continued seeking of known human presence even when resource rewards are absent, suggesting that genuine preference and attachment can form between wild animals and humans. The relationship is forming, the preference is real, the connection is growing. This is the revelation that explains the neurochemistry of attachment to location and to human presence. And it is the moment when you understand that the raccoon's continued visits are not just behavioral patterns. The raccoon's brain chemistry has changed. When the raccoon repeatedly experienced safety and reward in your yard, her brain began to form associations at the neurochemical level. The oxytocin systems, the bonding and attachment systems, began to activate in response to your yard and your presence. Oxytocin is released in response to safe, positive social interactions. The raccoon's experiences of safety in your yard activated oxytocin. The dopamine systems, the reward and motivation systems, began to code your yard as a rewarding location. Dopamine is released in response to rewards and to anticipation of rewards. The raccoon's experiences of food and safety in your yard activated dopamine. Over time, the raccoon's brain developed a kind of neurochemical signature for your yard and your presence. The location became encoded as a positive, rewarding, safe place. The human became encoded as a positive, safe presence. These neurochemical associations are not tied exclusively to the food. The associations are tied to the overall experience of being in your yard and being near you. When the food stops being left, the neurochemical associations remain. The raccoon's brain still codes your yard as positive. The raccoon's brain still codes your presence as safe and potentially rewarding. The continued visiting is partly driven by this neurochemical reward. The raccoon's brain is seeking the activation of these positive systems. The raccoon is drawn to your yard because her brain codes the location as positive. This is the basis of genuine attachment. This is the basis of real preference. The brain chemistry has bonded the raccoon to the location and to your presence. Researchers studying animal attachment neurochemistry have found measurable oxytocin and dopamine responses in wild animals following positive human interactions, with animals showing continued seeking of human presence even after external rewards are removed, suggesting that neurochemical bonding can occur between wild animals and humans. The neurochemistry is real. The bonding is biochemical. The attachment is written into the raccoon's brain. The raccoon's continued visiting is demonstrating something profound. Wild animals are capable of genuine preference. Wild animals are capable of choosing based on factors beyond immediate survival needs. The raccoon does not have to come to your yard. The raccoon can find food elsewhere. The raccoon can find safety in other locations. The raccoon can reorganize her nightly routine to exclude your yard. But the raccoon chooses to continue visiting. The raccoon is exercising agency. The raccoon is making a choice. This choice is not programmed instinct. This choice is not automatic behavior. This choice reflects the raccoon's assessment that your yard and your presence are valuable enough to continue seeking. The raccoon is demonstrating that wild animals are not simple creatures driven by food-seeking and survival instinct alone. Wild animals are beings who can form preferences, beings who can choose, beings who can value something beyond immediate practical benefit. The raccoon's continued visiting says, "You matter to me. This place matters to me. The connection is worth the effort of visiting." This is a statement about the raccoon's inner life. This is a statement about the raccoon's capacity for preference and relationship. It also says something about you. It says that the raccoon has assessed you as worthy of continued attention. It says that the raccoon finds something in your yard or in your presence that matters. The continued visiting is a form of communication. It is the raccoon saying without words, "I choose to be here. I choose this connection." Researchers studying animal agency and decision-making have found that many wild animals demonstrate decision-making that goes beyond immediate resource seeking, with animals making choices based on preference, habit, and apparent positive valuation of locations and individuals, suggesting that wild animals possess a level of agency and conscious choice often underestimated by humans. The choice is real, the preference is genuine, the agency is demonstrated. And this is the revelation that explains the deepest meaning of the raccoon's continued visits. The raccoon is expressing a choice for connection. In the wild, animals typically interact with humans only when necessary. Animals avoid humans. Animals see humans as threats or as competition for resources. But this raccoon has chosen differently. This raccoon has chosen to return to a location associated with a human. This raccoon has chosen to maintain a connection despite the absence of tangible reward. This is unusual. This is special. This is something that humans rarely get to witness, a wild animal choosing connection. The raccoon is not tame. The raccoon has not been domesticated. The raccoon remains wild. The raccoon will never be a pet. The raccoon will never fully trust humans in the way a domesticated animal does. But the raccoon has chosen to form a connection with you. The raccoon has chosen to include you in her world. The raccoon has chosen to continue returning to your yard. This is a gift. This is something being offered. This is the raccoon saying, "You are part of my world. My world includes you. The connection is reciprocal. You affected me, and I continue to choose to be affected by your presence." The raccoon's continued visiting is one of the most profound statements a wild animal can make. The raccoon is saying, despite being wild, despite having the entire world available to me, despite having no obligation to return to you, I choose to return. I choose this connection. I choose this place and this human. What the raccoon is expressing is something that humans deeply crave: to be chosen, to matter to another being, to be part of a relationship that is freely entered into. The raccoon is offering this. The raccoon is saying, "You matter. The connection matters. I choose you." Not in the way humans choose each other, not in the way domesticated animals are bound to their humans, but in a genuine way, in a way that is freely chosen, in a way that reflects the raccoon's autonomous decision to maintain the connection. This is one of the most beautiful things that can happen between a human and a wild animal, the wild animal choosing connection, the wild animal continuing to return despite having no obligation to do so, the wild animal expressing, "You are part of my world. The connection is meaningful." That is what the raccoon's continued visits are expressing. That is what the raccoon is communicating when she comes to your yard, despite the absence of food. The raccoon is saying, "I choose this, I choose you, I choose the connection." Before I go, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer in the comments below. Are you leaving food for a raccoon? Has the raccoon stopped coming? Have you considered stopping the food? Have you wondered what would happen if you did? Or have you already stopped leaving food and the raccoon still comes? Does the raccoon still visit? Does the raccoon still spend time in your yard? What is the raccoon's behavior now? Tell me about it. How long has the raccoon been coming? How has the raccoon responded to the change? Do you sense that the relationship is about more than food? Have you felt chosen by the raccoon's continued presence? The stories this hidden backyard wildlife community shares are some of the most beautiful I read every week. And every single one of them matters, because every single one of them is a story about connection, about what happens when a wild animal chooses a human, about what it means to be part of a wild animal's world. If anything in this video changed the way you understand your relationship with the raccoon that visits your yard, if it changed what you will see the next time the raccoon comes despite the absence of food, share it with someone who would understand. Sometimes the right perspective at the right moment changes not just what we notice, but who we are. Thank you for being here at Hidden Backyard Wildlife. The next time a raccoon visits your yard despite the absence of food, pause. Recognize that the raccoon is making a choice. Recognize that you have been chosen. Recognize that the connection is meaningful to the raccoon. Honor that choice. Be worthy of it. Understand that this raccoon has decided that your yard and your presence matter enough to return to, even without the reward of food. You have been given something precious. You have been chosen by a wild animal. The raccoon is expressing, "You are part of my world, the connection is real." That is not a small thing. That is one of the most beautiful things that can happen. I will see you in the next one.